Easter Under Wraps is a bonus episode for March. It originally aired on Hallmark Channel in 2019, but right now it's available to stream for free on YouTube on the Hallmark Movies Now page. This might be just for US viewers, but I'll put a link to the full movie below. It will also air on Hallmark on Tuesday, March 19th at 6 p.m. 5 Central in case you want to record it. Easter Under Wraps is the very first Easter movie that Hallmark ever made. It stars Fiona Gubelman and Brendan Penny. I've seen Fiona Gubelman in one other Hallmark movie so far. Actually, let me be brutally honest here. I've seen a little bit of her in another Hallmark movie. It was called Royally Ever After, and I'm sorry to say that her character in that one was so cringeworthy, I never finished it. The good news is, I thought she was wonderful in Easter Under Wraps. Brendan Penny pops up quite a bit on Hallmark, including Pride, Prejudice, and Mistletoe with Lacey Chabert. And he was also one of the stars of the hit series Chesapeake Shores. And I can't wait to get started on this one, so let's dive right in and talk about it. The movie opens with Erin Cavendish, played by Fiona Gubelman, walking into a Cavendish Chocolates retail store. She was greeted at the door by someone who did not know who she was.
Would you like to sample one of our Easter chocolates?
We soon learn that Erin Cavendish is the director of marketing for her family's business, and obviously her face is not widely known around their retail stores. Next, we see her in a corporate meeting discussing the fact that Easter is 6 weeks away, and last year their Easter sales were down.
But as we know, last year, for the first time in Cavendish history, Easter sales were down.
Another hot topic of the meeting is their new competitor, Chalkmate. They're popping up everywhere, including one directly across the street from one of their own Cavendish locations. Unlike Cavendish, which has a long history of making artisan handcrafted chocolates, Chalkmate uses more modern automated technology, so their production is much faster, and they have a lot of new modern flavor combinations. Now, Carter, Cavendish's director of operations, is all in favor of transitioning their own factories to becoming more automated, and he brings up the fact that they are already testing this out in their original Sweetwater factory.
More machines means faster turnover.
However, not everyone is sold on this idea, including Brian, one of the managers at the Sweetwater factory. Brian, played by Brendan Penny, apparently went to culinary school to become a chef, but while he was training, he developed a passion for the art of chocolate making. Well, he drove out to their main office in Seattle to meet with Carter and show him a new idea that he had designed for Easter. It was a handmade box made out of chocolate filled with candy inside. But of course, Carter dismisses his idea right away because it's handmade and he's trying to phase that out of the company to compete with Chalkmate.
Brian, we're trying to phase out handmade products.
Yes. In another scene, we see Erin talking with her father, the CEO of the company, who brings up the idea that he would like to go to visit the Sweetwater factory to get a better feel from the men and women at the front line about how they're doing with the new automation. But Erin points out that as the CEO of the company, they would most likely only tell him what they think he wants to hear instead of what they actually feel.
But they'll probably just tell you what you want to hear.
She jokes at the idea of him going undercover.
You could always go undercover, disguise yourself as one of the factory workers.
But he takes that suggestion very seriously, not for himself, but for her.
Brilliant.
What?
And that is the premise of this movie. Erin goes undercover, so to speak, assumes the name of Victoria Aronson, and she spends the next few weeks in Sweetwater where not even Carter knows what she's up to. She has an assistant who covered for her the whole time she was gone. In Sweetwater, Erin stays at a very nice B&B owned by an older retired couple who incidentally worked at the chocolate factory together for over 30 years. They happen to know Erin's father, so naturally he arranged for Erin to stay there. They're one of the very few people who knew what she was up to, but in the beginning, she didn't know that the couple actually knew who she was. Wait, does that sound like a line from Phoebe and Friends?
They don't know that we know they know we know.
The next day is her first day on the job at the factory, where she meets Florence Baker, Flo, who shows her how to make a tray of chocolates. And yes, my mind immediately went to Lucy and Ethel during the scene at the chocolate factory. Clearly, I Love Lucy must have been their inspiration. At lunchtime, she has a chance to meet Brian, whom we learn is the head chocolatier and QC supervisor, and he's not shy about telling her what he thinks of the new automation system. Yeah, he's not a fan. And he goes on to complain about how upper management has no idea what goes on at the factory level. Only he's actually telling this to one of the directors and he doesn't even know it.
I'm sorry, it's just sometimes I feel like management has no clue what actually goes on around here.
And here we go again.
He lays a lot on her on the very first day, which makes for an awkward first impression, but I loved it so far. Things slowly begin to soften up a little between them when they run into each other later at the Cavendish Museum, where Brian's daughter is in the back with a bunch of others decorating Easter eggs. Erin, aka Veronica, hits it off very well with Brian's daughter Madison, although it's kind of funny, she's still not quite used to being called Veronica just yet.
Veronica!
I think she's talking to you.
It's also here at the museum where they have a display of a replica of one of their legendary Cavendish eggs. They're really quite extraordinary, and this ultimately becomes important to the storyline. For the next hour or so, they spend more time together and form a closer bond at events like the Sweetwater Easter Festival. You know, somehow I didn't think that they could top any of the Christmas festivals I've seen in some of the Christmas movies. And maybe this doesn't top them, but I have to admit it looked like a lot of fun and very festive for Easter. Keep in mind also, she never reveals who she really is all this time, so the anticipation of that blowing up later on continues to build. There were some funny moments too, like when she bit into a hot chocolate. Okay, that didn't come out right. She bit into a spicy chocolate made with habanero peppers. And then there's the time that Carter, that director of operations, made an impromptu visit to the Sweetwater factory to check on the progress with their automation system. Yeah, Erin had to sneak off and hide so that he wouldn't see her and blow her cover. That is, until the HR manager calls her out to introduce her to him.
Erin?
Sin. Yes, I'm Veronica Aronson.
Ultimately, Erin and Brian face the challenge together about how to help the Cavendish company move forward while still maintaining a sense of their history in today's competitive market. And believe it or not, they figure out a way to integrate technology into their plan to make this work. I won't tell you how, but that legendary Cavendish egg was part of the plan. Of course, it was tough near the end when Brian ultimately did find out who she really was. And no, she didn't tell him herself.
I thought you'd be more excited.
I wish I could be, Erin. That is your name, right?
That he started to doubt and mistrust everything about her and the company, understandably so. But in true Hallmark style, I thought they wrapped it up very well. Ha, see what I did there?
The teaser is, if you thought Easter was legendary.
Just wait until you see Halloween.
Exactly.
And they had their happy ending in what felt natural to me. Everything made sense. There was nothing forced about it, which for me is an important element that makes a good Hallmark movie. I felt chemistry between the leads and the supporting characters as well. There was character development. Even Erin commented to Brian at the end that she learned more about herself as Veronica than she did before as Erin, and I thought it was rather believable. Overall, I thought this was a wonderful example of a feel-good Easter movie. The only thing holding me back from giving it 5 stars is there were times when I thought perhaps some of the characters smiled a little too much. I don't know that anyone is always that happy all the time, so that might have been a touch overdone. So on that note, I'm going to give this one 4 out of 5. What did you think? I would love to know what your thoughts are about this movie. I'm always interested in a good conversation, and not just with those who agree with me. Well, I think that wraps up my review of Easter Under Wraps. As always, thank you so much for watching this episode of Magical Movie Club. If you like this and want to see more, please subscribe to our channel and consider following us on Instagram at Magical Movie Club and on Twitter at Magical Movie Club with no U. You can find those links below in the description, as well as links to the preview and the movie page for Easter Under Wraps at Hallmark.com. We'll see you next week to chat more about our favorite magical movies.
Oh, thank goodness. It has been such a long day and I am exhausted.
Girl, you're funny. That's lunch.